Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into TFS Pod 141. As usual, a lot has happened in the last 8 days since we last spoke. Week 4 in college football in the books. Week 3 of NFL in the books. College basketball practice started yesterday. Thank the good Lord. Some wacky stuff going on in just sports in general. Clown cars left and right. One being our team, their coaching, everything, and many other things that we will discuss here in the next hour or so. Without further ado, we'll go to the podium as we always do. I'll start. I think I've talked about this guy in the past, probably a year ago when it came out that he wanted an 8th year of college football. Now he wants 9. This guy his name is Cam McCormick. He started off at Oregon, had some injuries, a few red shirts, COVID year, and he's at Miami now. This is his 8th year of eligibility. He's seeking a NCAA record 9th year
How is 8
of
years not a
eligibility.
record?
Seriously, dude, you are that much of a loser that you want to stay in college for that long? He's like, Tommy, yeah. A lot of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. I guarantee this guy comes out with a gen ed degree. It's probably stupid. It just pisses me off. Like, dude, get a life. No one cares. Like, you're trying to break some record. You probably have like 10 yards in your career. Screw off.
Participation trophy days. All right, my podium. I'm going to go a little bit of a part 2 off of last week, because last week I gave a little benefit of the doubt to HB, Harlan Barnett, Michigan State's interim coach, but asked him and other coaches to just tell it like it is. Quit sugarcoating a pile of dog you-know-what in your press conference. Tell the truth. So I got a question this week. Why do lame duck coaches need to care? Or no, not why do they need to. Why lame duck coaches need to care about what they're leaving behind and not ride or die with seniors or upperclassmen. My point is Harlan Barnett, if you're auditioning for a job, you're failing miserably because Michigan State is got to be one of the most penalized teams in the country. They're the most rudimentary mistakes. We're going to get into the game, obviously, in first down, but my point really here is the quarterback situation. Those who are at the games the last couple of weeks have noticed that every time Noah Kim makes a mistake, he comes up limping afterwards. Happened again against Maryland. Then finally, Caden Hauser gets to go in the game, leads Michigan State on a good drive. They set him up for failure by calling a screen pass inside their own 10, which, as my buddy Dave pointed out, they don't do in the pros, so why would you do it in college? Throws a pick. Any chance Michigan State had to come back is gone. But he sparked Michigan State to their only touchdown against Washington and sparked them on a good drive in that game, made some good throws. Here's my point. Whether you're HB or another lame duck coach, stop being loyal to seniors. Play the guys that are more than likely going to be left behind and choose to stay behind or maybe ride with the new program. Give them a chance to play, because I'm going to guarantee you this. If Hauser continues to be buried on the bench, as soon as that 30-day free transfer window opens, he's gone. Leave it is gone. And Michigan State's next coach is going to be dealt a hand of Noah Kim, who, no question, has a fantastic arm, but has zero accuracy, has zero poise, has happy feet, can't take a hit, so on and so on and so on. So my message is, Harlan Barnett, get your head out of your ass. Quit saying to the media that we're riding with Kim because he's our guy. I don't care if Hauser doesn't, in your mind, give you as much of a chance to win. Newsflash, you aren't going to win again this year. You have won better than maybe, and that's Indiana. and a couple of games that you could maybe pull one out of your ass. You still have to play Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. That's 3 more losses right there. That's 2 and 5 out of order, meaning you have to win, what is that then? 5 out of the last 7 to go 7 and 5. 5 out of the other 7. There's no way it's going to happen. So freaking burn the boats. Let the Noah Kims and the older guys that are not going to be the cornerstones of the program transfer in the transfer portal. Because I still argue that guys that are starters, Hall on defense is a great example. Rucker, who started last week as finally coming off injury at cornerback, really good. Like those young freshmen that are starting and playing a lot, they're going to stay if they're starters. If they're not, then they're going to take a chance and they're going to go somewhere else. So bag it with the seniors, bag it with the old guys, and play the young guys. I'm tired of you riding or dying with a quarterback who has scored us, 6 points in the last 2 freaking weeks. Tired of it. I'm over it.
3 points.
He had 1 touchdown drive last week.
Oh, true. I forgot. It was so bad I tried to blank out of my
memory. No kidding.
All right. Multiple flags to be thrown this week. I'm going first. I came across this afternoon. I think it was on TikTok maybe that I started reading it, reading an article about it. Really weird. It's just, I don't even know how to explain. So there's a big rivalry down in New Mexico. New Mexico State, New Mexico, they hate each other. This is what the article says. Teams investigate after video shows NMSU player allegedly urinating on rivals' practice field. It was their starting quarterback, New Mexico State.
Didn't they have a murder between those 2 programs last year?
Some guy got murdered last year. And unbelievable. And there's some guy who took a video of it. It got leaked. Now it's out.
No pun intended. Literally. It got leaked.
It's just, what are you doing, man? Especially in today's day and age, you can't do anything like that. There's cameras everywhere.
Yeah, it's not like when I was in college when nothing that you did that was crazy and stupid made social media. The worst you had is a Polaroid picture of something. Like, these people have no freaking brains. That's because they're playing 8 or 9 years and they don't have an actual brain to think with. My flag's a little less salty than that, but anytime I see this, I just want to throw a flag. And it's, come on, man, on the Ohio State players. Like, up on their bench taunting Notre Dame fans. Act like you've been there before. Like, you're a perennial power. You are in the playoffs or in the hunt for the playoffs every year. This isn't Michigan State going down to Notre Dame in the midst of a dog-do season and pulling off a shocking upset while getting trash-talked and being told about their coach. Then maybe I could excuse it, but you're Ohio State. Take it like men and celebrate with your team. It just infuriates me when people... Fans are dumb, right? Like, I'm one of them. We say dumb stuff. We say it if you're close to get people's goat, to get you to get a technical, to get you to play. Like Ryan and I will talk often about the example of my boys that listen to the pod. Remember, especially me, would give Quanzo Martin for Purdue an earful when Michigan State played them. And like 3 years in a row, they won titles in the Big Ten, and Michigan State finished second to them, like our sophomore, junior, and senior year. And Quanzo Martin would come to town, and I just would ride his ass, and he would look at me like, come on, bring it, boy. And he would go off on Michigan State. But, like, for every one of them, there's a Nigel from Wisconsin who Michigan State rode mercilessly and played one of the worst college basketball games I've ever seen. Nonetheless, fans say stuff. You as a player, keep it between the lines, especially when you're Ohio State, especially if you're Michigan. And I would say the same of Notre Dame if they were doing it. Like, get a brain. Buy a clue. You're idiots.
Well, in Ryan Day, we can discuss him. I might as well do it now. We're talking about it. He's the thing. No, we're from Ohio. No one respects us. Saying all this crap. It's like, dude,
because Lou Holtz, suffering succotash Holtz,
can hardly speak. The poor guy's like 900 years old. Like, dude, like you're at Ohio State. You're a top 5 program in college football history. Stop it.
I think that's as we may as well. We're shifting into week 1, right? Like first down, or not week 1, week 4. Shifting into first down and territory. I think that's like, if you pay any attention to Joel Klatt, which take him or leave him, he's okay. Like, I mean, once in a while I'll watch his little takes and videos on TikTok. I can't really take him when he's calling a game. He bothers me with maybe because Gus has lost his luster with me. I don't know, but he made a good point a couple weeks ago that if Ohio State played as poorly against a team like Bowling Green as Michigan did, they would have dropped from number 2 to number 7 and taken an absolute beating in the media. So from that perspective, I kind of get what Ryan Day is saying, because Michigan, it's excused away like, oh, they didn't have Harbaugh. Oh, JJ just had a bad game. Oh, this, oh, that. It's excuses, right? And they stay number 2. So I think what Day is trying to do is actually that's not an emotional reaction. I think that's you can debate whether intellectual is the word you agree with, but I'll say an intellectual approach of, all right, then I'm going to turn it on everybody else. And I'm going to get the media to kind of treat us as more of an underdog. And maybe it's because, obviously there's an expectation with them. It's no different than if Alabama, they start rumbling, should Saban retire because they lost to Texas? I mean, give me a break. Then they went out and smacked up Mississippi upside the head when they were talking trash to them. Like, some of this is just, it's fuel, it's fire, it's fighting fire with fire. I think it was calculated by Day to say that. Whether Holtz said whatever he said, I didn't hear it exactly, but look, like Ryan said, he's probably in a nursing home. He can barely get 2 words out without spitting all over the person he's talking to. So, take that with a grain of salt. But I think Ohio State is circling the wagons and playing an us against the world mentality, because they take such a beating in the media that he's just going to be like, fine, then we're going to throw punches back. And I don't necessarily blame him, to be honest.
True. Good spin. All right, first down. Week 4 review. Let's get right to it. Let's see.
I got one for you. Ain't no air raid at Wisconsin, but those backs are beasts.
Well, we knew that.
And Mordecai, too. I don't know if anybody watched the game, Ryan. I don't know. We weren't watching it. You were out at the bar.
I watched
I've never seen, minus a high school center, float a shotgun snap quite like Wisconsin's.
Really?
It was really bad, but they just dominated on the ground. Against Purdue, who's decimated this year. On defense, they lost some key guys I talked about in the preview, and they're playing like it. But Wisconsin smartly did not abandon the run, because that's their strength, right? They want to get to air raid, and I think that's totally fine. I think the threat of it is great, but what I saw is old school Wisconsin, and I say you ride or die with that this year if you're a Badger.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. It's Wisconsin, not an air raid team. But that was a good win for them. Kind of stomped Purdue. Purdue's bad, though. Should have done that. All right, around the Big Ten, I guess we can go.
Indiana 4 overtimes against Akron.
Indiana's bad.
That's the team that Michigan State has the best chance to win.
They'll still find a way to lose, don't worry. Michigan, Rutgers, Michigan's 0-4 against the spread. Good teams win, great teams cover.
In Rutgers, that's a game that's a little misleading by the final score, because Rutgers was driving, I think,
they had
when
it
was close.
Picks,
but they're Rutgers, right? Whatever. But they were driving at a point where the game was really close. So it was really no different than Bowling Green, except for it was in the conference. And yet, again, Michigan doesn't slide. I don't understand it, because I'm telling you, they're choking under the pressure of expecting to be right there for a national title again this year. McCarthy is playing Corum's coming off an ACL, I get it, but he's not been anything spectacular. I want to say Carter from Michigan State is still probably pretty close to leads the league, minus maybe the Wisconsin backs. But arguably, he's having a better season than Corum is. Michigan's found some receivers. Their defense is obviously pretty good. They're holding up and not giving up very many points in the first 4 games. They've also probably played 4 of the worst offenses in college football. But regardless, they're doing their job. But that team is overrated. I'm telling you. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be much better as the weeks go on.
Team,
but they're overrated. And I'm sorry, they were no different with Jimmy back than they weren't. And all I can say is this: thank goodness for what the inordinate fascination with Deion Sanders, because that means we don't have to listen to the Jim Harbaugh cock-sucking all the time, which is ridiculous. So
yet is the key word.
Yet is a good point. So that was kind of a whatever.
Florida Atlantic covered against Illinois.
Illinois is on the struggle bus. They're missing those key defensive players too. Their offense isn't quite clicking. I mean, they're finding a way to win. They're 2-2. They're actually honestly where I had them pegged at this point of the season. Kansas is a pretty decent team. Penn State's really good. but I'm not that impressed with Illinois. I don't see them as having a chance to contend, whereas in my previews, I think I kind of thought maybe an outside chance they could contend for a West title.
Nebraska did not cover against Louisiana Tech, but it's Nebraska. They have some 6'3", 250 quarterback going right now.
Yeah, and they've lost some running backs for the season. And they're on a rebuild. Look, they've been on a perennial rebuild forever, but whatever. I mean, as long as you're willing to give your good coach a chance to get his guys in there and whatever, I think Rule will turn it around. I mean, Nebraska's got the heritage, they've got the fan base, they've got the loyalty. It's probably kind of hard to recruit to Lincoln, except for the fact that the girls are gorgeous. But
what?
Besides that, yeah, the farm girls are pretty girls. That's your recruiting ploy though for Nebraska. What else do you have? Steaks. You're in the middle of nowhere. But in Nebraska, they have nothing else but Nebraska football. Well, in volleyball, because they packed 94,000 people into the Cornhusker Stadium too. So, Nebraska will get there, but they're about on par with where I thought they would be at this point.
How about Northwestern?
Heck of a comeback. I watched the latter part of that game. Minnesota just kind of choked on a donkey, right?
PJ Fleck is a fraud.
Yeah, they're Minnesota. They were up 24-7 at the half, 31-10 in the third quarter. Lost in overtime. Northwestern impressive drive to close the game to tie it. And then, Ryan, you predicted they go for 2. I thought smartly they went for the kick, and then they got him in overtime. Good for you, Northwestern. They actually looked pretty decent doing it, too. So, better than Michigan State, I'll tell you that much at this point in time. Yeah. So, I would say that, Northwestern, they don't have a chance, but, I mean, that's a pretty feel good win for them. And honestly, a couple more wins like that in the West, which is doable, and I think they give that interim coach a good hard look.
Yeah, good for them. Let's go Ohio State, Notre Dame. Low scoring. This is more trestle ball Ohio State than anything.
And that's all right. If that's what it takes for Ohio State, embrace that. Because, not that it matters what your quarterback translates to the pro, but your quarterbacks that were great at Ohio State haven't done jack, except for Stroud's off to a good start. Well, yeah. So embrace what you're good at. You got 2 good running backs. Well, actually 3. One of them's hurt right now, second string. You, of course, have great wide receivers, and you have a good tight end. You've got weapons. You can keep it balanced. You don't need to be, nothing but air raid.
Pretty solid D-line, too.
Yeah, I thought they handled that. They were getting run all over by Notre Dame, I will say, in the latter stages of that game. And I don't know why Notre Dame just didn't keep pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding.
Because they got Hartman, man.
Yeah, I just at that point in time, ride or die with what's working. Run it once. If it works, run it twice. Run it if it keep running that same run play at that point in game when you're trying to salt clock until it doesn't work anymore, right? And kudos to Ohio State. They made some big plays down the stretch when they had the ball late. Of course, they scored on basically the last play of the game. Really well-designed play, too, to go away from the middle, although then after the fact, they didn't realize at the time, but Notre Dame had only 10 guys in the field and were down a D lineman, which certainly doesn't help your goal line defense. So that was a mistake. I didn't really get Marcus Freeman's explanation of we didn't want to run a guy and get a penalty. At that point, what's the difference?
Why would it matter?
So you go from the 1 to the half. I get it. It's just the nose of the ball on the line, but a foot and a half compared to 3 feet to score, I take the penalty to get the right amount of guys on the field, right? You got a better chance, but whatever.
Count, apparently.
Mistakes happen. I'm kind of appalled at the level of ineptitude from coaching staffs around the country with getting the wrong personnel on the field. Not enough guys, too many guys. It's insane.
Well, one thing's consistent. Brian Ferentz is going to be holding the cardboard sign saying, "Help me, I'm poor."
So the question I have for you, Ryan, is, given he's going to have to make a move, does Kirk Ferentz retire?
He's going to retire.
Does he retire? Because he doesn't want to fire his son.
No, he's done.
I think it happens because they didn't have 100 yards of offense, did they?
No, I think they
don't have traditional. Their tight end
rushing, 40 yards passing.
Their tight end,
3 first downs.
The NFL is littered with Iowa great tight ends, and they have another one, but he's hurt. Iowa doesn't. They don't have that Charlie Jones, double last name type wide receiver that like kind of is sneakily one of the best in the Big Ten. Their offensive line has been really piss poor the last couple of years, and that's an Iowa staple.
Backs.
But no names, right?
No.
Like no game breakers. Like Iowa over the years has had like a big game breaker, and McNamara is a pretty good quarterback. But if you watch that Penn State game, that dude's hurting. He took a beating from Penn State.
Oh,
I mean,
Lord.
he's hurting, and he's the linchpin. He's the only thing holding that thing together. And their defense is okay, but Penn State shredded their defense. Like they don't even have the typical, like they lost Campbell with the Lions now. They lost a good safety in the NFL.
He's really good, but other than that, their defense.
They just don't even have the depth that Iowa's had before, and I can't imagine they'd be like, we're working together, and I have the choice of either to fire you or to retire and ride off into the sunset. Given the fact that I've already done all these things, I'm the winningest coach. I've made all this money. You might get a double whammy, Iowa. You may be in a coaching search as well, because I don't think that he's going to pull the trigger. Otherwise, I think he would have already.
Well, I mean, but he kind of has to because it's in his contract. It's a rolling contract for his son.
Well, right, he has to, but I'm just saying is like he's not going to want to. So my prediction right now would be he's going to leave.
I don't think he's around next
Depending
year
on how
either.
the season
They're just
goes.
not very good.
I mean, he's getting up there anyway, Ferentz, but I just wouldn't surprise me.
Should we go around college football, then hit Michigan State? Or
Yeah, did we get everybody in the Big Ten?
Yeah, except for, Florida State, gritty. Clemson, their kicker's really good. He can make a 7-yard field goal, but apparently he can't make a 29-yard one.
Yeah, man, don't rely on a kicker. Michigan State has found that out over the years, last year most recently.
Washington State's for real. Their quarterback is an absolute stud. Please, Michigan State, give Jake Dickert and their 27-year-old offensive coordinator a look. Please, if you have a brain, which I don't think you do.
You don't have to be married to the Midwest anymore, guys, because the way college football has opened up. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, between Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, you don't really need to, and then occasionally Florida, Georgia, stay away from California. No, California.
Some good football.
Texas, there's good football, right? But the way the game has opened up, I don't believe you need a Midwest guy anymore. Like
he is a Midwest guy.
The Pac-10, the Pac-2 now, and the Big Ten together, the Big 18, like it's coast to coast. So like, I don't buy this regionality thing anymore. And great, he's from Wisconsin, but I agree with you. Give a look beyond your footprint because your footprint's across the country now.
Penix continues to put up video game like numbers. 59 more points out of Washington. They're crazy. LSU and Arkansas continue to have great games. I'm trying to think what else. Pat Narduzzi is Pitt at 1-3. God, if we look at
North
that,
Carolina 4-0 for the first time in a really long
Duke's
time.
4-0.
Right?
North Carolina's 4-0. Kansas is 4-0. What is this? It's basketball.
It's basketball,
yeah.
Except for Michigan State and Kentucky.
Yep, Kentucky's not bad though. I think they might be ranked actually now. How about this one? I called it. I said Oregon by 1,000,000. What did they do? They won by 1,000,000.
And they could have probably scored a heck of a lot more.
Curb stomped them. And there's videos.
Speaking of that game, my favorite line of the weekend. They play for clicks, we play for wins. That was Oregon's coach Lanning about Colorado. But yet, Colorado gets another big noon game, and the game of the century against USC, like every week is a game of the century. And I get it, Deion is a made-for-TV guy and whatever, but like I had a good conversation with somebody at work today. Colorado's got some really good first-level talent. They have zero depth, and that showed against Oregon. Oh, you cannot... I've said this about Michigan State for years. Like, Michigan State starters I'd put up against, not now, but in most cases I'd put them up there to beat anybody in the Big Ten on a given Saturday. It's the depth that wins games for you. It's when you can get a second and third string wide receiver like at Ohio State that's willing to kind of wait their turn and then bust out and play 2 years and be NFL talent, right? Like, that's what Colorado is missing. That's what Michigan State is definitely missing. But
if he can stay there, I bet he can build it. Cause
yeah, probably could.
Want to play for him.
Yep. And I'm just tired of that shtick, though, because it's like, look, they got smoked. They got absolutely obliterated, and yet...
And they're talking crap before the game on the field.
That's like all we're talking about is going, man, look, USC doesn't have a great defense, but they might score 100.
Yeah, Caleb Williams is...
I mean, because if Bo Nix, the haircut guy, can shred you that much, what is Caleb Williams going to do?
Yeah, it's going to be... I'm excited to watch it. It'll be fun. Must-see TV. I mean, that's what it is. Colorado.
Yeah, well, it'll be our first Saturday at home to just sit and watch a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Use the picture-in-picture on YouTube TV, which is great.
Right. All right, let's get to the 1,000 feet of crap, and then another 1,000 feet of crap, and then there lies Michigan State's football's grave that was dug by Mel Tucker.
Long before he jerked it on the phone, because it's clear from the talent. Do not sell me on a coach being good at recruiting, because I think that's overhyped. I think stars get inflated, I've said this for years, by who is recruiting you. And I think it's just an ability to spot talent and build talent, because guys don't come out of high school. Well, not all. I would say there's cases sometimes when it happens, but most cases, guys don't come out of high school ready-made to be stars in college football. They just don't. That means it takes coaching. Michigan State is top to bottom. We'll pull Courtney Hawkins out of that, because I would argue he's done a good job with young receivers. He's the only coach at Michigan State that I think has coached his players to be better. Nathan Carter is good because he's got talent. I don't think Michigan State's running backs coach is very good. Jordan Simmons hasn't gotten any better in 4 years. Prim didn't even see the field the other day. I don't think Michigan State's tight ends have been squat for years. Their line has been squat, but he's basically a receiver.
Yeah,
Their line hasn't been squat for years.
Riddle me this. Why is Chris Kapilovich, first of all, he got fired from every job he's ever been at, and then we hire him and pay him $1 million. This dude, I'm sorry for my language, this dude is complete and total waste of.
You know what? It's funny because everybody, I love to listen to Valenti talk about this, about how D'Antonio was so loyal to his guys, and it's not the good old boy club, whatever. But I don't know what the relationship is with Mel with these guys, but his inability to actually handpick coaches
He's
that
given
can coach
the biggest
right?
money pool that he could ever ask for, and he brought in these losers.
I mean, I'm telling you, there are legit D3 coaches that are better.
They will not have a job in college football when they're fired. They will not.
And so that's part of my going back to my podium. Are they burning it down because they're like, screw it? I would say why? Yes. Because if you want another job, and a lot of these guys are young enough that they're going to walk. They're not going to get a buyout. I don't think. Maybe they'd get a buyout, but I don't know how their contracts work. But don't you need another job? Don't you want to show that you can make talent better? Because the talent that's gotten better at Michigan State was already good to begin with, and like I said, there's a limited pool of that. You don't just come in off the street. Unless you're like the kid at Colorado who's just, outstanding athlete, phenomenal, plays two ways. Guys like that are exceedingly rare. You coach up offensive linemen. You technique coach up defensive linemen. Yeah, there's athletic features. There's speed. There's power. There's I get those things. But you still learn those things over time as you grow from being a boy to a man. Talent to being smart to run routes. Talent to catch the ball. I get it, but have an eye for that, and you can coach some of that stuff. And Michigan State does none of that. And here was my sign that Saturday was going to be an epic flop. For the first time in my 33 years of going to football games at Michigan State, one of our drum majors almost bit it on their ass. They had to put a hand down when they put their little hat tassels down and bent over backwards. Almost bit it. She put her hand down to catch herself. That right there was that's
and the team couldn't even run out correctly. Team couldn't run out correctly. They played Thunderstruck, and they held for 5 seconds. They're oh, we should go. It's little giants.
They stood there. Yeah, it's just there is not one ounce of that team that's well coached. Stupid penalties again, retaliation penalties again.
There's
not enough men in the field. Too many guys in the field. The play calling 4th and 1 early. 4th and 1 from the 1 yard line. For effing cripe sake, watch a Philadelphia Eagles game. They are 30 for 32 on the Hurts push. I get it. You're college. You're not pro. You can do that.
You can do it.
It's called leverage, and it's called alignment. And damn it, you should do it every time.
It's stupid if you don't.
4th and 1 at the 1 yard line with a chance to tie that game, probably completely change the tenor of that game. You run an outside run play, stuffed, give up a touchdown. Michigan State 5 turnovers, most of which led to touchdowns.
Just stupid.
Just what I saw on the field was not. I don't blame the players. I don't think the players quit. I think the players played hard. I think some of their penalties of aggression late were just because they're so damn frustrated.
I think they tried, but they're just not very good.
It's the coaches put them in zero position.
Horrible position. There's no. Do they practice during the week? I really wonder if they practice.
Two guys in a row dropped touchdowns at the end of the first half. That again makes that a ball game. Might have either tied it or given Michigan State at least gotten them within a touchdown. I can't remember what the score was at that time.
It would have been.
It was 28-7 or
21-0, and it would have been 21-3. It would have been 21-10.
Right, so it would have given them a fighting chance, right? Then the defense comes out strong, but then they give up a fake. Like that's coaching. Have your players. Somebody needs to spy that. Like, how can you ever just say we're going to run away from it? Like, of course, especially with rugby punters, all they need to do is look and go, yeah, I can make that 15 yards. Like, I mean, they did. They made a good comeback and they stopped them on that drive or held them to a field goal or something. But even later on that drive, they are offsides, and here's coaching again, and your defensive back gives up a long pass. Freaking interfere with them. In the NFL, I get it. You don't want to because it's a spot penalty. In college football, it's a 15-yard penalty. If you're burned and you're beat on a big third down play, unless you're sure as heck, or at least 95% sure you can probably make a play on the ball and maybe knock it away, and the guy's got to make a miracle catch. If you're beaten, interfere. That's coaching. Like, you tell your guy, get out there, especially when you already knew it was a free play. You're giving up, in essence, another 10 yards. Instead, they get I think it was a 62-yard play. Like, then later in the game, they blew a pick six. Like, I mean, Michigan State can't catch the ball on offense. It can't catch the ball on defense.
Missed tackles.
Then here's another coaching thing for you. They get a touchdown finally.
Go for two.
And it's still a game that's within reach, and they go for two. Mathematically, you never chase points at that point in time. Because what it did is it put Michigan State into a position where then they were going to have to score two touchdowns later in the game instead of a touchdown and a field goal. You saved the 2-point conversion for the last possible play. The last possible time you have to do it, because it's not that high percentage, because it's hard to score with 22 guys on the field between the 2-yard line and the end zone. It just is. You don't have the space to operate, and especially the way Jay Johnson calls plays. Speaking of whom, he does nothing to put his team in a place to have success. The screen pass inside the 10 that Hauser threw the pick on, 5 turnovers to 1. If I'm the coach, Hauser's my ride or die, and I'm letting Leavitt get some play. I don't even care if I burn his red shirt. I talk to him and I say, you know what, Sam? Sam is the name, right? Yeah. Are you okay if we play you more than 4 games? Or at least max out his 4 games, right? And get a good look at what you got so you have a 2-man competition next year. Because based on recruiting and stars, you're going to leave the next staff with 2 pretty good, touted quarterbacks that are left on the roster. Here's my prediction right now. If he continues this, we're riding Noah, you're going to have 1 roster quarterback at the end of the season.
Yep.
1 scholarship quarterback. The other guys are going to go.
This week.
They're going to bolt. It's absolutely disgusting. I don't even know what to say anymore, because I've seen bad. Like, I've endured the Bobby Williams era of bonehead coaching, but even those teams had like Jeff Smoker and T.J. Duckett and Charles Rogers, like NFL caliber talent.
There's no talent.
There's just so little that I feel bad for the guys that do have that level of talent, because there's just no chance. I mean, Michigan State would probably win the MAC, maybe, probably.
No, probably.
And we're going to get to it here in a minute. I'm starting my own power rankings now because everybody else does it. Like when we get to second down, but it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say anymore. I just don't know what to say anymore.
I'm out of words as well. The spite store is open. I'm
All
laughing.
Right. We'll move to this second down, which of course is our Week 5 preview. But then before we get to the games, Ryan, I'm going to power rank the Big
Want
Ten.
To read the thing, the
ad.
Yeah.
Oh, is that our
Norris.
spot? Oh yeah. How did I not have that? Oh yeah. New to second down is my weekly Big Ten Power Rankings, presented by Norris Sports Group, a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports sponsorships and much more. Learn more at norrissportsgroup.com today. Thanks, Ryan, for reminding me that I hadn't had it in there. All right, so my system. I don't really pay attention to how other people rank them. I'm just going to tell you, you're probably going to have some disagreement with this. I'm ranking it on kind of the conglomeration of what I've seen so far. Like if a team is beating a team and that team's beating a team, like I'm going to put them ahead, and you'll kind of see this here. Ryan, feel free to weigh in on any of this if you agree or not. So I'll go from worst to first. Indiana is my last ranked team in the Big Ten.
Yes.
4 overtimes to beat Akron. You know, they've fought against Louisville, but that's about the best that they've played. They got smashed by Ohio State. They're the worst team. And right on their heels is Michigan State.
Yeah.
It's really, they're playing for the dirty toilet bowl. Not just the toilet bowl, but like the toilet bowl at the gas station that has who knows how many people have gone in it and left it in it. That's the bowl game that those two teams are playing for. There's a pretty big chasm, I think, even between that and 12th, even though in 12th I have Purdue, who at least has played good teams, right? They've played Wisconsin, they've played Fresno, they've played, well, Virginia Tech's not very good, but they went on the road and they played Virginia Tech, and then they played Syracuse. Like, they've at least played, they've probably arguably played the best 4-game schedule so far in the Big Ten. They're 1-3, but I would say the difference between even Purdue and Michigan State is pretty epic. Like, if the two of those teams played right now, Purdue would be probably a 10-plus point favorite, I think. Mm-hmm. At 11, I have Nebraska. I just don't think that they're very good. I think they'll get there eventually, but I don't think they're very good. They've been pretty injury-ridden as well. Number 10, I actually have Rutgers. They haven't really played anybody great so far. I mean, they beat Northwestern, they beat Temple, they beat Vatech, and they battled at least a little bit against Michigan, which they traditionally do. But I think they're pretty clearly better than those other teams. Number 9, I have Illinois. Yes, they're 2-2. Yes, their 2 wins were barely wins. Their 2 losses were against 2 good undefeated teams. So, still remains to be seen. It's not to say that they can't drop lower, but I have them at 9. I have Minnesota at 8, just a smidge ahead. Look, Minnesota's not very good. We saw that against Northwestern, the way they collapsed. So I have Northwestern at 7, and you'd be like, Andy, you have Northwestern at 7. There's no way they're in the middle of the pack in the Big Ten. At this point in time, from what we've seen through 4 games, they are. They had a nice win against Minnesota. Whether Minnesota's good, bad, or indifferent, that was a nice comeback win. They got smoked by Duke. I'll give you that.
Duke's a good team.
They lost to Rutgers and didn't do much in that game. A lot of turmoil offseason, but they smoked UTEP when we didn't expect that either. So, look, they're 2-2. They might not win a game the rest of the year, but for right now, after this week, I got them number 7. I've got Iowa barely number 6. I mean, they're 3-1, but they're on a fast track to nowhere with that offense. I got Maryland at number 5. And look, I mean, they beat Michigan State with the help of Michigan State beating themselves a lot in that game. We talked about 5 turnovers, a lot of penalties. But I think that, Maryland's got some nice pieces and parts. Now, things get a little bit more real after this week. They play Indiana this week. But, they still have to play the Big 3. But so far, they're ahead of schedule. Item 3-1 at this point, and they're 4-0. So, 7-8 wins is not out of the realm of possibility, and that would be a really good season for Maryland. So I got them 5th right now. Wisconsin, I've got 4th. I think they're pretty clearly the best team in the West, pretty much by far and away. Their defense is pretty good. Their offense, definitely, they've got weapons.
Well coached.
Here's where some people would differ. I've got Michigan number 3. I don't think they've beaten anybody. Their defenses look pretty good. Their offense has been very average, in my opinion, for what they supposedly had coming back and the offensive line that they had. You can't tell me that they're better than number 2 Penn State, who throttled Iowa in a whiteout, who, albeit West Virginia is not very good, throttled West Virginia in a night game. Penn State has lived up to what they're supposed to be, and they're a good football team. They're better than Michigan right now. And number 1, again, you can at me if you want, is Ohio State. Yep, they struggled a little bit against Indiana, but they've been incrementally getting better week over week, and they've played between Penn State and Michigan. They've definitely played a harder schedule. Notre Dame on the road. Michigan hasn't even left Ann Arbor. Penn State, I don't think, has left State College. At least Ohio State went out on the road twice already. They played at Indiana and they played at Notre Dame. So that's my power rankings for the week.
Nice. All right, let's preview week 5 in the games. Do some picks.
Let's do it.
Northwestern hosts the Nittany Lions of Penn State, coming off the big comeback win. Penn State blew out Iowa. Penn State's a 26-point favorite on the road here in Evanston. Northwestern showed me something. I think they got some cooked up. I think that they lose this by 3 touchdowns. They cover.
So I noticed this the other night. Anybody who's been watching the Big Ten for a long time and paid close attention knows that when the big boys come into town in Evanston, Northwestern has a broken lawnmower. Like, their field is shaggy AF. And it was mowed nice and tight, and it looked more like turf the other day. I would not be surprised to see that grass get a little bit longer this week to slow Penn State down a little bit. I think Northwestern comes out with some pep and some fire and some juice. I saw 27. That's a big number on the road to cover, but Penn State's that good. I think Penn State covers that.
All right. Then we've got Louisiana, the
3-1, the Raging Cajuns.
Cajuns traveling to Minneapolis, St. Paul region area to play the Golden Gophers. Louisiana's well coached. Minnesota's not good. They're both the same colors. I'm rolling with the Cajuns to cover 12.5 points. Minnesota's quarterback, Cali
Minnesota struggles on offense anyway. I think Minnesota
low scoring.
I think Minnesota wins, but I think Louisiana covers.
They'll win by like a touchdown.
But remember, Minnesota lost at home to Eastern a couple years ago, or somebody in Ohio, Bowling Green, somebody. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if they lost, but I think they win and they don't cover.
Michigan travels to Lincoln gets out of the state for the first time, albeit against a reeling Nebraska team that's just not very good. 18 is the spread in this one. Michigan's 0-4 against the spread. I think that continues 0-5. I think Nebraska covers, but Michigan's going to win this game by, I think they'll win by 17, 31-14 type. Contest 30-14.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's offense has struggled. Nebraska's defense has been okay. It's at Nebraska. The place is going to be crazy. And I'll go with the same thing as Michigan hasn't shown me anything that they can cover. Now, 18, I could see them winning by 3 touchdowns, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt on that 3-point home spread. I'm going to go Nebraska to cover that game.
I think this is the easiest spread of the week for me. Maryland -14 against Indiana.
Oh my gosh.
They're going to
pound
kick
it.
the
They're
crap out of
They're
them.
going to double that up. Indiana's not very good.
Yeah, straight up here, Illinois versus Purdue. Walters against his former team. It's the battle of the mids. I'm going with the Fighting Illini. I think they get it done in a low-scoring, close battle, like 13-10.
Man, I just don't think Purdue's just not playing very well. They haven't really shown me something that says, oh yeah, they're ready to break through. Their defense is really, really struggling. Like, I knew it would struggle early, but not through 4 games. So I'm going with you. I'm gonna go Illinois in that game too.
Yep. All right. I made this spread myself because it's not out there. Rutgers hosts Wagner, the Seahawks. 30.5. Can Rutgers cover that? You don't think they'll cover it?
I don't think they'll cover it.
I think they cover it. I just made that up. I have no idea what it would be. Don't really care. It's Rutgers. The moment we've all been waiting for.
This spread has gone from 6.5 to 13 is what I saw.
Well, we're doing it straight because this is the best offensive coordinator in football, and Brian Ferentz versus the best defensive coordinator in college football, Scotty Adelson, and Michigan State is the second best offensive coordinator in football. Good heaven almighty, 10-0 final. I've said this since Saturday. 10-0 final score. 3 points for Iowa off of a turnover, kick a field goal on a short field, and then a pick six. That's it. There will not be any points. Michigan State will get 2 first downs. No way they're going to be able to run against them. And this is going to be just awful football.
Yeah, I hope it just rains too to make it even better
let's
that way.
Check it.
I will say there. I think the over under is at 39 or 30. Yeah, right around the high 30s, mid high 30s. And the spread literally has gone up a touchdown in the last 2 days, up to 13.
High of 85 degrees on Saturday in Iowa City.
So Michigan State is not going to be prepared for that because they don't know how to hydrate. They don't know how to prepare. If we're betting the spread, I would say that I would actually say Michigan State could cover 13.5 because I don't think Iowa can score 13.5 points. But Michigan State can't score more than 3. I think that ends up being a 13-3 game. I think, Iowa wins that game and they go way under. So I'm probably going to punch the under, and I'll see. I'm going to see how it's going.
It was 39.5. That's what I got it at on Sunday. 39.5. You think that these two god awful shithole teams are going to score that many combined points? No way.
That's 23-16. There's no way. Michigan State has scored, 15 points in the last, what did we decide they scored?
16 points in the last 2 games.
9-6, right?
9-7.
9-7. 16 points in the last 2 games.
Yep. Awesome.
Right.
Then we're going to do one out of the Big Ten plus an NFL. Notre Dame Duke College Game Day. First time ever.
That's a hard bounce back game for Notre Dame.
I think Duke gets them. I do. I love Riley Leonard. And I love Mike Elko.
What's the spread in that game?
It's close. Please, God, let Mike Elko be the next coach of Michigan State. Please.
Are you going to talk to us about who you're going to do a coaching analysis?
No.
I'm trying to, guys, let Ryan know if you want him to do this. I want him to break down.
I don't know anything about
I want him to look at the top 5 to 10 candidates for Michigan
if the
State.
media were to tell you the top 5 guys would be Charles Huff,
I know
Charles
who they
Huff,
would tell
Charles
you.
Huff.
So take what they say, and then you break it
Shove
down
it up their
as to
ass.
why or why not we should consider them. I want you to do that. That's your homework next week.
Every MAC coach.
I know. Just pick the 5 that you see most commonly, and for the next 5 weeks, pick one and give the reasons why or why not, and then ultimately tell us who our coach is going to be. So what was Duke playing it straight up?
Yeah.
Man, part of me says Notre Dame's going to be fired up for the way that they lost. Part of me says it's going to be really hard to show up and play after the Ohio State game. How did we do last week?
I went 6. Oh, I didn't do well. Went 6-6. You went 8-4.
All right,
we're tied for the season.
Tied for the season, so try to be. I'm going to pick Notre Dame here. I'm probably. No, I can't even say I'm rooting for Duke. I'm rooting for a tie. Can't happen.
No, I don't mind.
I think it'll be a good game. But I got to go with. I think Freeman will have Notre Dame ready, and I think they'll win.
Last one, Thursday Night Football. Amazon Prime. Lions travel to Lambeau Field.
Site of last year's great
Lions,
win to end the
3-1 early division lead. Sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, honestly, that the Packers are right there too, and the Packers are a blown game from being undefeated, and the Lions are kind of a blown game against Seattle in essence from being undefeated. So, with where the rest of the NFC North is, it's kind of an important game. I think the Lions are more seasoned. They're still a little bit dinged up, but I think they've got some injuries on Green Bay's side too. But I'm going to go the Lions as well.
Lions. All right, that's the Week 5 preview.
All right. A word from our presenting sponsor, Team Anders Realty, will help you find the home that best fits your needs and make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients over 30-plus years in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. Third down, mailbag / hodgepodge / golf, because we've got the Ryder Cup. I've got a pile of questions from Mitch A-Palooza, Ryan, that we can address. You want to talk Ryder Cup first, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can talk Ryder. I'm excited for it. I'm going to get up at 1 a.m. to watch. Just kidding. Course looks cool. Marco Simone.
Yeah, it does look really good. Let's start with Mitch's question. So, who will be the unsung hero for the U.S. team this week?
I'm going with Homa. He's a good match play player. I think he's going to play well.
You're going Homa. I'm going to go with your favorite guy on the roster.
Harmon?
Yeah.
Farman Harmon?
The little lefty. I don't know. I just think he kind of plays good over there in Europe. It's a super hilly course, I know that. But I like how he played this year. I know, Ryan, you don't necessarily like their roster, but I like the U.S. roster. Like, I think that there's gamers. I honestly love that they picked Thomas, because even though at the time he wasn't playing great, some of it has to do with the camaraderie. Some of it has to do with just being in the moment. Europe has been riddled with guys like that over the years. Europe has a really good young team, but to recap for the U.S., just in case you forgot, Sam Burns, Patrick Cantlay, Wyndham Clark, Ricky Fowler, Brian Harmon, Max Homa, Brooks Koepka, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, who's very good in the Ryder Cup, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, and Justin Thomas.
I'll tell you, the weakest link I think that's on the U.S. roster is going to be Wyndham Clark. I don't expect anything.
Yeah, I don't know if he. I just don't know if he has. I don't know. We'll see, right? Like,
we will.
I mean, and looking at the Europe players.
Their roster's top heavy.
Ludwig Aberg,
I
Matt
think he's
Fitzpatrick, Terrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, Nikolai Hojard, Victor Hovland, who obviously playing really well lately, Robert McIntyre, Shane Lowry, Rory, Rahm, Rose, Sepp. I think it's going to be close. Yep. We have the cup, right? So we only have to win 14 points to keep it.
14 retains, I think,
14 retains. Yeah, I mean, so for me, Harmon, you said Homa for your unsung hero. Another Ryder Cup question is, should there be a separate committee that picks the courses, because it feels that each team just picks courses that are suited to them, making it impossible to win as the away team, which we've seen more and more lately for sure.
The U.S. hasn't won.
I love seeing they haven't won there since 93.
It's been 30 years.
I love seeing these courses that you've never really, like outside of the U.S., that you've never really seen or whatever. But I agree. I think, like, figure it out, or even a rotation. Like, I don't think there's a problem with a rotation of, like they do with the U.S. Open or the PGA, where they've got kind of like 10 courses that are great that they can just kind of rotate between, that are kind of just like a good test in golf. It shouldn't just be a test for one team and a quiz for the other. It should be a test for both teams. And look, it's super hilly. I read an article this week about how Zach Johnson has advised the players to consider having 2 caddies with them. He's advised them to have much lighter bags, like almost more like stand bags, because it's hilly. It's supposed to be in the 80s. It's taxing enough on the players, but you're also playing because you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so you're very condensed in your playing in your style. Yeah, you can take some more strokes off in like the 4-ball and some things like that. I understand that part of it, but like watch for the fatigue factor. Now, I'm not saying that John Rahm's not going to get fatigued or Sepp Straka, because those are some big dudes walking up and down those hills. I mean, I sure would, but the players are in peak physical condition, and let's face it, so are the caddies. But don't underestimate that, I would say. And the hills have nothing to do with whether it's a good course or not. I agree with you, Mitch, that I think let's kind of put a neutral party there and just pick great courses, not great courses that are suited just to the team that wins. I mean, I guess that's part of it, right? Like, come beat us where we want you to play. I kind of get it, but I don't know. I'm with that. I'd rather see a separate committee pick.
That's what
anything else you want to talk about Ryder Cup? Do you think they can win?
I think the U.S. can win, but I don't think they will.
I think it's going to be like a 14.5, because what are there, 20?
I don't know.
Is it 27 points, I think is what it is? I should know. Here, let's look.
Can't remember.
Talk about it. Talk amongst yourselves while I look, because I should know this, but I did not prepare.
It's going to be exciting. Set your alarms early. I'm excited for the Spieth-Thomas combo. I think Thomas is going to play well. I have this feeling, even though he's playing.
I think so, too. I just think it's just like it's his bag, right? It's like it's like the guys. Mitch had a question like this before.
Yeah, it's like Graham McDowell.
Yeah, it's
Ian
those
Poulter,
guys that kind of rise up,
Sergio
and whatever. So, okay, so here's how it works. So the format is 4-ball. So just for listeners who might not know, 4-ball is each member of a 2-man team plays his own ball. So there's 4 balls in play on every hole. Each team counts the lowest of its 2 scores on the hole, and the team whose player has the lowest score wins the hole. If the low scores are tied, the hole is halved. So that'd be like Ryan and I have a 4, he has a 5, we take my 4. Foursomes. In foursomes, each 2-man team plays 1 ball per hole, with the players taking turns until each hole is complete. It's called alternate. It's kind of like alternate shot, I guess, really. Players alternate hitting tee shots, with one leading off on odd-numbered holes and the other hitting off first on even-numbered holes. The team with the low score on each hole wins the hole. If the score is tied, they have. That's kind of a cool format, because it's like Ryan's hoping like hell, and I'm going to keep driving it straight so that he can come in, and I'm hoping like hell he's going to hit the second shot where I can make the birdie putt, right? Like, so that's very interesting. That's very much about team camaraderie and matching of skills. So that's where like a Zach Johnson comes into play. And of course, there's singles. 1 player from each team. They go head-to-head, low score, match play. Scoring, each match is worth 1 point, with matches ending in a tie worth 1/2 point to each side. The first team to reach 14.5 points wins the Ryder Cup. If it ends 14-14, so there's 28 points.
The U.S. retains.
The team holding the Ryder Cup retains. Of course, the U.S. pounded Europe
Yeah,
at Whistling
them.
Straits. So 3 days, 28 matches, 28 points. It's going to be interesting. There's just different things to watch. I think it's a super interesting format. I like the way that it's not just straight up head to head. It's different than what you're used to. It's very much more team style. The crowd's going to be rowdy. I think it's fun and worth the watch. It's kind of like, I look at it like British Open. You know, that's always fun, or the Open. It's always fun for me to get up in the morning and watch the Open. So it'll be fun for me to get up and watch this. All right, so that's Ryder Cup. Let's go back to college football here. Last week Ryan had done a ton of homework on rankings reviews, part 2. I think we might put it off a week because we're already at the 54-minute mark here. So I'll get to the last 6 years of that. So if you were listening last week and waiting for it, guess what? You're going to have to wait again. So I'm going to get to another Mitch A-Palooza question. College football. His one question of the week. When does basketball start? Practice started Monday.
Yep.
First games are early November, so
I think Michigan State's is November 6th.
not long, Mitch. In the realm of pro football mailbag, for your dad. When was the last time you saw the Lions dominate in all 3 phases? 1991? Question mark. I don't know that even. I mean, they were pretty good in 1991, but I don't even know that you could say that they dominated. I mean, they were actually as close as they've probably ever been, arguably, to the Super Bowl then. And they had Barry, and they had Herman Moore, and they had Lomas Brown, and they had Chris Spielman, and they had Benny Blades. They had great kicker. Probably in my lifetime, but that's not saying much because the Lions have not given us much to look at. So I think that's probably dominant by Lions standards. Yes, 1991. Second question from Mitch: do you even need JMO back at this point? I want him back, but it doesn't feel like we're missing something. What do you think about that?
What was that? I totally
Do we need JMO back at this point? Do we need a downfield threat?
I mean,
at
we
this
do,
point?
but I don't know if Goff can throw the deep ball. I mean, he puts eyes downfield at least, so you have to watch him.
I mean, if they run like that rollout throwback play like they did to, I was going to say Hawkinson to Laporta the other day.
Don't call him.
That's a long pass. Like if you can do that, it's not just straight up field burner stuff, but off of a play action. I mean, I think he stretches the field. And look, at this point in time, the way injuries are going, you just need another guy in there. Although he's an walking injury himself, so. That's hodgepodge mailbag from my standpoint. Ryan, you got anything else that you wanted to cover off? All right, fourth down, baby.
For NFL here real quick. Lions, big win, dominant, like we said. Defensively, looked really good, answered the bell.
Hutch finally got his couple sacks of the season, one of them being a strip sack.
It was a good win against a Falcons team that played well up until that point.
I would like to see the offense and the defense play great at the same time. Like, I feel like even last year, the offense played really well and the defense didn't. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, or the defense would play really well and the offense would play average. Offense was pretty good the other day, but wasn't great. I'm going to tell you what I blame it on. Ryan, can you predict what I blame it on? Those stupid freaking blueberry uniforms. I don't like the blue pants on the road. I sure as hell don't like the blue on blue at home. Give me the Honolulu blue and silver, which are great colors. I'm not even a huge fan of the silver. Here's the combo. Give me Honolulu blue top and silver pants at home, and give me all whites on the road.
Yeah, it's a good look.
And an occasional, like the old school Thanksgiving look where they peel the logos off the helmet.
Yeah, those
it's
are
like
cool.
Like badass Penn State type practice. But I hate the blueberry. If you're gonna go, what do they call that? Color rush. Then go with the silvers. Like, the silvers are way more palatable than those blueberries. I don't think they. I got to do some research. I don't think they play very well that way. Look, here's another observations that I had. Branch is a freaking stud. That dude can hit. He's in position.
He's a football player,
I mean,
man.
he is. That team is loaded with examples of how much better their coaching and developmental staff is, but also their front office.
Yeah, no way in hell they would have.
They took kind of a beating for taking Gibbs, and then taking Campbell, and then taking Laporta, and then taking Branch. Like, some of these guys were hurt. They're Iowa guys, whatever. They're just Dan Campbell guys. Yeah. and they're good football players, and they're smart football players, and they make plays,
They're
and
versatile.
they're aggressive, and they're versatile, and they want to be a part of a team. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And in my lifetime, I'll throw that question back on you, Mitch. Like, have you seen in your lifetime a Lions team that was not inept when it came to building a roster? This is the most sound roster I think the Lions have built from top to bottom.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's in the NFL, because you only carry 53 guys. There's depth issues because of injuries. I mean, Lions are like down to their third string rookie tackle, right tackle right now, with Penny playing over on the left, with Decker out. You know, so that goes back to Mitch's idea that we talked about last week. Should there be in a minor league? Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. Get rid of college football Thursday night. Get rid of NFL Thursday night, and have the USFL play Thursday nights, and then keep the NFL to Sunday and one game Monday, and then an occasional holiday type of thing like Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve or whatever, occasional Saturday game, and then play them simultaneously. So you still get your Thursday night football, and what you're watching is your Michigan Panthers, who's all your practice squad guys for the Lions, and see who you might need to bring up for the game. I get it. That's close proximity. People are going to say, hey, injuries, whatever, more prone, whatever. You're paying these guys a lot of money. If Ryan's a good tight end and he plays for the Panthers and has a big game on Thursday, and he can earn a right to be on the team for special teams or whatever on Sunday, go for it. Because the NFL, I feel like this year, I'm sure there's some statistics, has more like big injuries and depth of injuries than I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's been weird.
I mean, not just like a bunch of Rodgers type guys with torn Achilles, but like 5, 6, 7, 8 starters across all these rosters that are hurt. And 53-man roster is not enough to cover for that, even when you throw in the practice squad. So,
right.
I don't know what else you got on the Lions.
Just keep the ball rolling, man.
How about the cardiac Packers?
The Saints suck. They blew it.
But talk about blew it. What in the hell were the Chargers doing? Going for it inside their 30.
He needs to be fired regardless.
You're up 4, and you go for it on the road inside your 30. Like, I don't care if it's 4th and an inch.
Fired.
No way. You gave the ball to Minnesota. Now, Hawkinson pulled a very Lions move, having been an ex-former old Lion. And now, was it a tough catch because Cousins had to absolutely rip it in there? Yeah. Was it a smidge behind him? Yeah, guess what? So nobody else could intercept it except for when you dropped it, and then they intercepted it. I feel horrible for Cousins. He is the leading quarterback in the NFL. I think he might have the highest quarterback rating except for Tua. And Jefferson is the leading receiver, I believe, in the NFL. The two of them are a deadly combination. Cousins is averaging like over 340 or so a game. He's averaging like 3.5 touchdowns a game, and Minnesota is 0-3. Now, arguably, they're really close to being 2-1 or 3-0. That's the difference between them last year and this year. They're losing the close games, but I mean, there's so much talking about let's blow it up and let's just rebuild for the future because Jefferson's going to leave and Cousins is a free agent. Like, let's trade Cousins to the Jets. I'm like, timeout. I think it's a little early for that because the NFC North is not that good, but like, man. Do my man Kirk a favor in Minnesota. Protect him, catch some passes aside from like a Jefferson or an Addison.
Right. Well, the Niners are the best team, I think, in the NFL.
Niners are fantastic.
We proved that. The Browns surprised 2-1.
Could easily be 3-0. The Steelers are 2-1. They had a nice win against the Raiders. The Bears are abysmal.
They're so bad.
Justin Fields is just another in a long line of horrible judgment by the Bears.
Another horrible Ohio State quarterback.
This is funny. What I thought about is like, this would never happen because it's in division, but what if the Vikings traded Cousins to the Bears? Like, that's honestly, I heard this the other day. I think Colin Cowherd was talking about this. The Bears need like a play action quarterback that has velocity on the ball that can deal with the weather conditions. They need a quarterback like Kirk Cousins. They don't need
go there next
some
year.
Athlete, right? Like I mean, he grew up in Chicago area too, so like the Bears are they're just bad. Fields is bad. Like, I've watched these videos of him just blatantly looking at 3 wide open receivers and he tucks it and runs. Like, that experiment's over, guys. Bench him. I'm sorry. You made another
Peterman's their backup.
Another bad pick at quarterback for the Bears. Like when they picked Trubisky over whomever they picked him over. Like, I don't care that the Bears are bad because they're in the NFC North with the Lions, but they're bad. The Cowboys already choking because they lost to the Cardinals.
Yeah, they talk all this crap. The Eagles are 3-0. They're very good. Bengals finally.
Yeah, but screw Philly because they had a chance to just kick a little pooch field goal and get the over. I want to know, did Vegas get on the horn and say, hey, guys, we're better here. We're going to do well on the under, so don't score. Like, oh, man, that made me mad. I was going to win a parlay.
Colts are 2-1. How about that?
Surprising, Uncle Rico at quarterback, filling in for Richardson.
And the
Stroud looked really good for the Texans.
He
Ravens are
they're
vastly overrated, I think.
They're 2-1 somehow, but
yeah, but
let's talk about the elephant in the room. Need I say, holy Santa Claus shit? The Dolphins 70 points.
20.
Is this Madden?
And this is how bad it is for the Bears. They're a dog to the Denver team that just gave up 70 points.
I mean, that
and two of those touchdowns were
I have no
backups.
words. I have no words. It's an absolute clinic. Their running backs are guys they found on the street. Literally, like 6th round picks, guys that have been cast off from other teams. Two was playing
their
amazing.
coach. He's kind of a computer nerd, but in a way, he's kind of like the bizarro
he's a
Dan
football
Campbell.
savant.
But he's a bizarro Dan Campbell. He's a player's guy. He's not like a man's man player's guy, but he's like a video game. Like, hey, let's go out there and just pitch it around. And
they just play a fun style of football.
Right, like the Dolphins. They started great last year, and then they kind of fizzled because Tua took a beating. So let's see if they can stay healthy. But yeah, that was unbelievable.
That's not even.
Bengals finally got a win. Chargers are. No, it was the Rams that they were playing. Chargers are now 1-2.
1-2.
I can't along with the Deion shtick. Can we stop with the whole fascination with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift?
Man.
I mean, the dude endorses Bud Light. He's dating the biggest liberal, crybaby in the world in Taylor Swift. Like, I have no respect for you anymore, Kelce. You might be a good tight end, but whatever. Get out of my face. And I mean, does the NFL want to go woke too? I'm guessing so.
Well, that graphic in the end zone, those do a lot.
Yeah, true.
All right.
We don't want to go down that road.
No. We're already at 106. Let's sprint.
All right, sprint.
And this is kind of like the Sever Duggan on Hodgepodge, but should they be adding new courses to the Ryder Cup Rota? I mean, my answer is yes. You said yes to that. I think they should do fun. Like, what if they play at Pine Valley or something? Like, that'd be sick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cypress Hill.
Of course you only see in a magazine.
Yeah,
right?
Fun, interesting courses.
Saskatoon.
But why are we playing at Quail Hollow and Hazeltine? Like, no one cares about Quail Hollow or Hazeltine at all. Like, play at TBC Sawgrass. Something cool like that. Like, it'd be fun.
Yeah. I would agree.
All right. Fun question. Best fruit.
Best fruit. Man. I'm going to go watermelon.
Good one. That's my runner-up.
I said grapes. Will any of the 0-3 teams make the playoffs?
What's the stats on that? Is very limited.
Get 0-2. The stats are very low.
I don't know. I don't have all the 0-3 teams in front of me. Can you give them to me? Like, I know Minnesota.
I don't know.
Chicago,
no way. Minnesota, I think, because they've got enough skill players. They have good talent.
They're playing.
Chicago, no way. Denver, they're 0-3, right? No way.
Denver's 0-3. Vikings, Bears, Panthers. That's it.
Only 4. No, Vikings are the only team that has a shot at it.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think they will.
And partially because they play in the NFC, which is not as good as the AFC.
How about this one? Over under 12.5 portal entries for Michigan State between now and December 1st.
Over.
Yeah.
When that 30-day over. When that 30-day opens,
they might not have a roster.
I don't know if it was today officially.
He hasn't been officially fired, so
maybe. I mean, if Michigan State's smart, they're not officially firing him for a while because I'm going to go on a limb and say this: if they fired him tomorrow, they might have to forfeit the rest of their games. I think that many guys are going, you know what? No way. I got no chance here. I'm not going to stick around and wait. Now, that doesn't mean they might not come back when they see who the coach is.
Right.
But I think it's way over. I would say I would have probably set that over-under at 20.
I'd say 25 plus.
Yeah. I think it's going to be double that, 12.5.
You're going to lose both quarterbacks probably. Yeah. I mean, you already have two guys that have decommitted in the last 3 days. It's only going to grow.
Yeah,
one of them's a guy that from Ohio that was a steal. He's moved up the rankings. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's bad. It's going to get really bad. Thanks, Mel.
You're going to get the home
Gate
runs
strikes
that
again.
That's about it. Yep.
All right. Well, even the home. There's a guy from Mount Pleasant that we got 4-star offensive lineman. He's visited Illinois last week and is visiting Penn State soon.
Yeah.
Going. That's 141. Appreciate you guys listening. Let us know if you have any questions you want us to hash out during mailbag /hodgepodge. We would appreciate that.
But we appreciate the questions, Mitch. A-Palooza.
Mitch, my man.
Chris, you had a good point. As we were talking coaching search, I've given Ryan the homework to look at the coaches and come to the table.
Charles Huff.
No, not him.
Just kidding.
All right. And I think this quote is pretty appropriate this week. It could be definitely geared towards Bears fans. It's absolutely geared towards Michigan State fans. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Albert Einstein said that about Noah Kim starting at quarterback for Michigan State Spartans. Peace out.